Welcome to the Lessons from Your Hairstylist podcast, where we uncover and leverage your unique beauty and personal style. I'm your host, Sarah Cruz, a beauty industry educator and hairstylist with 30 years experience. This show is dedicated to providing you with insights and practical advice for living a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled life. Experience that special stylist-client bond right here as we dive into conversations with experts in beauty and wellness. Here, you'll gain valuable tips on personal style and self-care to empower your journey. Join me to unlock the secrets to living beautifully well while elevating your lifestyle, mind, body, and spirit. Your appointment is now, so have a seat and get ready for transformation. Well, hello and welcome to the Lessons from Your Hairstylist podcast. I'm your host and hairstylist friend, Sarah Cruz. It's full fall. I feel like we're fully in the swing of things. It's October, and I thought it would be the perfect time to talk about seasonal hair shedding. This is something that I hear my clients say to me all the time, especially around this time of the year. They're like, is my hair just like shedding? Am I going bald? They're not sure if it's like a myth, if the hair sheds more at one time of the year, or if that's, if that's really true or not. And I thought, because I hear so much of this behind the chair, especially around this time of year, as we're getting into fall, it would be a good time to talk about hair fall or hair shedding. It is actually a thing. So let me just put that out there and say, yes, your hair will many times shed more so in the fall. And it's not something that you're imagining. It might just feel like your hair is literally just everywhere, like all over the shower, and you're just seeing it like in the drain, and you're wondering like, what's going on? Is this like breakage? Is it damage? Like what's happening? And actually, this type of hair thinning is one of the most predictable types of hair thinning. Pretty much, everybody's going to go through it at one point or another. Naturally shedding hair more so in the fall is something that the human body does. You may not think that your hair shedding would be connected to the seasons, but many times it absolutely can be. So this is like the same way that your skin gets drier in the winter, or your mood shifts when the days get shorter. Your scalp and your follicles respond to light and hormones. So this is what's going on when we're talking about seasonal hair shedding. So this is like a response to the hormones and what's going on inside of your body and how that relates to light and the shorter days and all of this. So we're actually going to dig in today into why this seasonal hair shedding happens, what exactly is going on beneath the surface, and most importantly of all, how you might prevent the heavy shed before it even starts. So we're going to talk about the real biology behind it. Like if you're kind of a little bit of a science nerd about things like I am, I'm going to explain to you what's actually going on inside so that you'll have a better idea of maybe how to handle it and some do's and don'ts, and just so that you're not misled, or so that you're able to have all the information that you need in order to attack this head on. So it's not just about like using serums or, using a product to maintain the health of the hair on the outside. This is really about doing the work to go against what is actually causing this. So let's talk about why this seasonal fall shedding actually happens. So every hair on your head lives through a different cycle. So you've got the growth cycle, you've got the rest cycle, and then it sheds, and then it repeats. And so here is what most people don't even realize. This cycle is actually not isolated. It is not just something that goes on untouched by anything else. It's actually deeply influenced by light and how short the days are, and how in the fall they get shorter. What happens and what's going on with your brain is that your brain senses this through your eyes. And the pineal gland is a tiny organ inside your brain that starts producing more melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. So when the days get shorter and there's less light, your brain starts going into producing more of this melatonin. And it's actually connected to your stress system. And your stress system is what actually regulates cortisol. So when you think of melatonin and cortisol, they're kind of like dance partners, I guess. When one rises, the other dips. And normally that rhythm is pretty smooth, but melatonin actually climbs at night so you can rest. And then cortisol will drop. In the morning, melanin falls, cortisol rises, and then you start to feel alert again. In the early fall, when the light changes, the rhythm has to kind of reset. So then melatonin actually starts rising earlier and staying higher into the morning, and then cortisol actually lags behind it. And that whole little timing thing gives your whole system kind of like a wobble, and it will affect your hair. Your hair follicles actually have these little receptors for both melatonin and cortisol. Melatonin helps them stay in the growth phase, and cortisol tells your body we're stressed, conserve energy. And so one of the first places that your body cuts back on in the energy, that's your hair growth. So your body is trying to conserve all this energy, so it's not going to be putting in this effort to keep your hair locked into the follicle. It's actually going to release that. So when the cortisol fluctuates, more follicles enter into this resting phase. So this resting phase that we're talking about in the growth cycle is called telogen. So after a few weeks of this cortisol fluctuation, your follicles all kind of go into this resting phase together, like all at once. And that's where you get a big spike of all of this shedding. So that can be a little bit unnerving, but here is the good news. It's temporary and it is totally natural. It's just a part of what your body's way of renewing itself is. Your hair is already forming under the surface, so it's ready to start growing and regenerating again. It's just that you've had this big push of the hair coming out all at once, and that's where you're seeing all this all of this hair like in the drain and in your shower and all over your floor, and it can be stressful. And then, of course, you've got the stress again, and then the cortisol, and then the cortisol is rising and it's making you conserve energy. And then it's all of this stuff. So that's why when we're talking about that stress hormone cortisol, whether it's just stress due to seasonal or it's stress due to things that are going on in your life, that is how that affects actually your hair shedding and falling out. That's why a lot of times people get this condition called telogen effluvium from stress. That's why stress is actually causing your hair to fall out. So aside from even seasonal shedding, if you're under a lot of stress and you find that your hair is falling out, then that can be due to the cortisol levels rising. And when you're talking about seasonal shedding, that contributes to it as well, because you've got that cortisol rising. And as it relates to seasonal shedding, some scientists actually think that this whole rhythm of shedding in the fall time is evolutionary. Like they're thinking that humans developed this like a long time ago to kind of refresh our scalp coverage before the winter. So like in the summertime, when you're thinking about how the hair is maybe staying in place more, that is almost like a protective covering against the sun and the heat in the summertime. And then in the fall, this is kind of like a refresh. So when you see more hair on your brush in October and November, then it's not just hair loss, it's really your biology adjusting. Now, if your hormones are out of whack, or your nutrition is out of whack, or your scalp health is off balance, when this shift actually hits in the fall, then this is making the problem even worse. So that normal hair shed can actually turn into a dramatic one. And that's why, depending on what's going on in your life, maybe some seasons may seem like they're worse than other seasons before. This is why prevention doesn't start when you see shedding. It has to start before. So like you would want to start preventing the fallout, I guess, of this, or how big the fallout is for your shedding in the fall time. You'd want to start with this maybe in August and September, taking some preventative measures. So late summer, August, early September, that's really your window to get ahead of it. Again, I know that was a little bit of a science lesson, may or may not have been interesting, but I just wanted you to kind of know what's going on so that now when we're starting to talk about prevention and starting from the inside out, there's where it could make more sense to you, because your hair is actually a reflection of what's happening internally. So, as the seasons shift, your HPA axis, and this is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal system, just to be exact. I know that's scientific, nerdy stuff, but this system has to recalibrate. That's actually the control center for your hormones, your stress, and your energy. So, when that system actually gets overworked, say from chronic stress or poor sleep, it keeps cortisol levels higher than they should be. And an elevated cortisol says, okay, we're under pressure, let's save energy. And unfortunately, one of the first places your body cuts off energy from is your hair follicles. So, again, that's why stressful months or illnesses, anything like that, can cause shedding. When you combine that with the fall's hormonal shifts, it literally amplifies the effect. So, what we have to do is stabilize our internal system before this happens. And this is where something like Nutrafol, the product Nutrafol, could come into play. So, I'm not any sort of an affiliate for Nutrafol or anything like that. But one of the questions I get a lot is, does Nutrafol really work? And yes, actually, Nutrafol is very effective for many different types of hair loss. Now, if it's a genetic type of hair loss, normally that's something that has to be taken up a notch, maybe see the dermatologist, maybe get some sort of a prescription medication for. But Nutrafol is very effective because it can support your hormonal shifts. It's not just a gimmick, but it's actually formulated around biology. So one of the ways it helps is with Ashtawanga, specifically sensorial Ashtawanga, which helps balance the cortisol levels by calming the adrenal overactivity. Think of this as your internal buffer against stress spikes. Also, curcumin, the compound from turmeric, actually helps to reduce low-grade inflammation around the hair follicles. So Nutrafol makes use of this as well. And it fills in the nutrient gaps most of us don't even realize we don't have. So one of the things it also does is it helps to supplement those vitamins A, C, D, biotin, zinc, and iron, which are super important to keep your follicles having the energy that they need for keratin production. So when you start to take Nutrafol, say 6 to 8 weeks out before the fall, one of the things that you're doing is you're basically syncing your body to the season before it actually gets thrown off. So this is giving yourself kind of a boost ahead of time to be able to offset maybe some of that shedding that could happen in the fall. So in the first 3 months, shedding will start to slow down whenever you're using Nutrafol. And say by month 4 or 5, you start to see new growth that's denser and shinier. Again, this is, in my experience, not really related to genetic hair loss. This is going to be more for vitamin deficiencies and hormonal issues and fluctuations that would cause hair loss. So I would say maybe you could even back it up before then, like start in the spring so that you're really heading things off at the pass before fall gets here. Now, once 6 months or so goes by, the whole texture of your hair starts to change. You'll start to see it get stronger, smoother, and more balanced. Now, if you're over 45 or you're perimenopausal, one formula that you could try is the Nutrafol Women's Balance version, because this actually adds ingredients for hormonal support, which makes that seasonal reset even easier on your body. So to round this out, adding vitamin D3 for sunlight support, a stress B complex for energy, metabolism, and if your ferritin levels actually run low, a gentle plant B iron plus vitamin C supplement could also benefit you. These are actually the building blocks that keep your follicles energized and consistent throughout the shifts with hormones and through fall and seasonal hair shedding. So you're not just forcing growth, you're actually stabilizing your whole system so that your hair can keep on doing what it's already programmed to do. Now, let's talk about the surface, which is your scalp. So this is where a lot of our internal work shows up. Now, your scalp is like a living skin. So the work that you're doing inside, doing the supplementation, making sure that you're heading off all of this at the pass, trying to get your, that cortisol level and that melatonin level in sync, fortifying with the vitamins and minerals that you need. This is where all of that is showing up. So when you're talking about your scalp, this is where you're going to start to see that first. Your scalp is actually your living skin. It breathes, it regulates oil, it has its own microbiome, and it needs attention just like your face does. Here's where a lot of people actually go wrong. When they start noticing shedding, they actually wash their hair less. They think, okay, maybe if I shampoo my hair less, maybe not so much will fall out. But actually what's happening is that's going to backfire. When you go too long between shampooing your hair, you actually get buildup of layers of oil or sebum, sweat, product residue, things like that. And those things can actually clog your follicles and suffocate the new growth. And they'll actually alter the scalp's pH, creating a perfect environment for inflammation, which nobody wants. That's gross. What you want is actual balance. So you want to exfoliate gently. Cleanse consistently, stimulate the circulation, and protect the barrier, which is your scalp. And here's how to do that. You want to exfoliate once a week. So one product that I could recommend is one that we actually carry in the salon, and it's by Pureology. And it's the Scalp Exfoliating Shampoo. It's sulfate-free and it's gentle on color, but it's powerful and it will lift out the residue that could clog the follicles. The other thing that you could try as well is the Act Plus Acre Cold Processed Scalp Detox before your shampoo. And this is something that you can find on Amazon or anywhere. We can link it also in the show notes. But what it does is it dissolves buildup and clears the follicle openings. The other thing you want to do is cleanse regularly. So 2 to 3 times a week is great. You know, some people ask me, like, how often should I shampoo? Basically, when you feel like your hair is getting dirty or greasy or something like that, don't just wait because you think that shampooing your hair is bad for your hair. It's not. You want to make sure that you're keeping your scalp clean. So this is very important. So cleanse regularly. At least 2 to 3 times a week. That's probably ideal. If your hair is fragile or dry, you could use something like the Kérastase Genesis line, and that's a great one. We have it in the salon as well. That is one that is actually going to help to keep your hair strong in the follicle while cleansing. It's for anchoring the hair and making it stronger so that it doesn't fall out once you're putting tensions on it, like brushing or styling and things like that. But it is very good, again, to fortify that follicle. If you do have an oilier scalp, you could try the Redken Amino Mint scalp shampoo, and that cools and it balances the pH in the scalp. So that's really great as well, just to give your scalp that ideal environment to allow the hair to grow better from. The other thing that you want to do is make sure that you're stimulating the circulation on your scalps. Massage your scalp for 30 seconds, 60 seconds every time you shampoo. Just use your fingertips. You could use a scalp brush. Just that little bit of oxygen and blood flow is one of the best free treatments you can give yourself. The other thing you want to do is support the barrier. So after shampooing, something like a serum, a scalp serum, the Kérastase Serum Potentialiste is an amazing one. We carry that at the salon, but what it does, it strengthens the scalp microbiome and adds hydration as the humidity drops. So as we get into fall and it's drier outside, you're losing moisture, your scalp is losing moisture. So this is one that really, really supports your scalp. Now, if you start using this system in August or early September, your scalp is clear, oxygenated, strong before the shedding wave begins. This is actually ideal. That just means that new growth is actually going to push through more easily, and the shed is going to feel light and manageable instead of heavy and literally alarming. I always tell my clients, treat your scalp like you would treat soil before planting. I mean, you wouldn't throw just seeds into dry, compacted dirt and expect a lush garden. Your scalp deserves the same kind of care as your skin, as any part of your body. You want to keep it in the best possible condition so that you're going to get the most production. Hair production. Now, once your internal balance and your scalp health are steady, you can actually help your follicles further from the outside too. So that's where topical actives come in, your hair care, things like that. Small daily rituals that you can do that remind your follicles to stay awake. So let's start with one that is backed by decades of research, and that is minoxidil. Minoxidil is actually something that I have been using for several years. I don't use the topical form, and there is a topical form. There is the women's Rogaine 5% foam that you could use, but I like to take the oral form, and I get this from my doctor. And what it actually does is it expands the blood vessels around your hair follicles, and it will deliver more oxygen and nutrients right into the hair bulb. That extra circulation tells the follicles, hey, we've got what we need to keep growing. Let's keep going. And with this product, consistency is everything. If you're going to use the topical form, you would need to apply it once a day to clean scalp, massage lightly, and let it dry. If you stop this, the follicles are going to go back into their old rhythm and you're going to lose hair again. Now, I use the oral because I do not like this topical. I don't like the mess. I don't like the way it makes my hair feel. So if this is something that, you're interested in, you may see your dermatologist about it. This is what I did. And minoxidil has actually also been shown to help with androgenic alopecia, which is a genetic form of hair loss. It's not just a temporary form. Minoxidil has been one of the only things that has been shown to actually regrow the hair. So this is a very, very viable option. It has been helping me because my hair was definitely thinning with perimenopause, and now going through menopause myself, I have seen a dramatic difference. So try maybe looking into minoxidil as an option if you're feeling that, this could even be more than something that's just seasonal. One thing about minoxidil is that it could be something that, some people may not be comfortable with, and you're looking for something that is a little bit more natural, maybe plant-based, and you want to go that route. Another option you can try is rosemary oil. Rosemary oil has earned its place in some serious scientific studies. It has actually shown growth results that are comparable to 2% minoxidil after 6 months. And that is huge because minoxidil, again, is one of those only things that has been shown to actually regrow hair. It improves circulation, it quiets inflammation. It keeps the scalp's microbiome calm and balanced. So something that you could try is the Mielle's Organic Rosemary Mint Scalp and Hair Oil. This can be something that you can find online. We'll leave a link so that you can access that if you'd like. There are also other options. The Briogeo Scalp Revival Pre-Wash Hair Oil, Rosemary Castor Oil for moisture, the Acte plus Acre Stem Cell Peptide Treatment, Rosemary plus peptides for density, or a lighter option, the ordinary Multi-Peptide Serum for daily use without weight. So those are just some options that you might want to look into. We will leave the links again in the show notes for you to be able to access that. I would say please do your research here. I haven't fully vetted those products or used all of them myself. So I would just say do your research when looking into any of those options. But I wanted to give you some of the findings that I had that you may find interesting when you're doing your own research and you're figuring out what your plan of action is going to be. But no matter what you choose, you want to start early. So introduce these products in the late summer, maybe test them out even earlier on in the spring so that the follicles are already stimulated and ready to go before fall reset begins. Your scalp doesn't just respond to panic, it responds to patterns. So small, steady signals beat occasional over effort every time. Next, the regrowth cycle. Here's what happens next. Once the hair sheds, the strand was already at the end of its journey, so you can just let that go. You can't stop that particular one from falling, but you can decide how quickly its replacement starts to grow in. When your hormones are balanced, your scalp is healthy, and your stress system is regulated, follicles will return to growth faster and stronger. Here's the timeline most people experience. Now, 1 to 3 months, the shedding starts to taper. The scalp starts to feel calmer and the cortisol swings level out. Month 4 to 6, the new baby hairs will appear. You'll get like a soft fuzz near the hairline or the part. Those are proof that your follicles are active again. Shine and elasticity are going to start to return. After 6 months, the density is going to improve. Individual strands will grow thicker and smoother. Styling feels easier because your hair's structure has literally rebuilt itself. All of this is what happens when you work with your body's rhythm instead of fighting against it. The pattern is predictable every year. So if you treat in August and September as your preseason and give your scalp, your stress system, and your nutrition the right support before the shift, your follicles will barely even react when the fall arrives. Instead of clumps in the shower, you're going to see a few extra strands maybe, and that's it. But you've stabilized the cycle. That's the real goal. Not perfection, just partnership with your biology. So now, as we move into fall, remember, your hair isn't betraying you. I know it may seem like it, but it's adapting to the light and the weather and your stress rhythm. Support that process and it supports you back. Here's your roadmap one more time. Start early. August is prep season. Balance your stress and your nutrition from the inside out. Keep the scalp clean, exfoliated, and oxygenated. Use your topical of choice consistently. Be patient. Biology rewards consistency, not urgency. Your hair is a part of a living system that knows what it's doing. When you create the right environment, it renews itself beautifully. And next week, we're going to dive into curly and coily hair. And I'm excited about that because curly and coily hair act differently and have even different needs in the fall when we're experiencing shedding and the dryness and all of those things. So we're going to be looking at how those seasonal changes affect curl definition, moisture retention, and scalp care in 3C and 4C textures. So I'm excited about that. Until then, drink your water, massage your scalp, and remember, a few extra hairs in the brush might just mean your next growth cycle is already on its way. So you and your hair are right on time. Don't worry about it. I hope these tips have helped you. And if you have any questions, just feel free to send over a DM through Instagram, TikTok. You can always shoot me an email. All of our information is going to be here in the show notes and on our website. And before I go, I just want to remind everyone again, whether you are just an everyday hair enthusiast or you are actually a hairstylist or a makeup artist out there and you're out here running your own business and you're interested in knowing how to do it better, something that we're doing over here at Black Tie and Blush at my on-site hair and makeup company for weddings and special events is we are actually compiling all of our frameworks, our systems, and everything we use to run our business, and we are offering it up to other professionals so that it makes it easier for them to run their business as well. All of that is on its way. We are working on tier 1 right now, which is going to be our email templates, our forms, our contracts and agreements. So those will be ready for you to access if you need those for your own business. And then we're just going to keep building into tier 2 and tier 3 for more and more resources and more technical help and hours for you from our own virtual assistants here to actually plug in our resources into your business and make it easy, hands off, and save you tons of time and money. So we are so excited about that product coming down the pipeline. I just want to thank you again if you've been listening and you've been with me since the beginning of this podcast. It has changed. We've already been going through some evolutions here. We're always trying some different things to kind of see like what works, what's not working so well. This is always just a work in progress. So excited to see how it continues to unfold and develop. It's always fun. I always love being here with you. Each and every week, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for joining. If you would, please send this to someone who might find it interesting. And don't forget to go on and leave me a rating or a review because that will help other people to find our podcast. So until next week, when we talk all about how fall affects curly and coily hair textures, start doing your research and getting some of your practices in place about how you're going to head off the fall hair fall. And we will see you on next week's episode. So excited you were here. Can't wait to see you again then. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Lessons from Your Hairstylist. I hope you found inspiration and actionable insights to embrace your unique beauty and elevate your life. Remember, it's all about taking small steps towards a happier, healthier you. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might benefit from it. Together, let's continue unlocking the secrets to living beautifully fulfilled. Until our next appointment, keep your thoughts on your visions, your self-talk kind, and remember to keep your heart open so you don't miss any opportunities waiting for you out there. I'll see you on the next one.